I'm going to comment on the Peterson affair here in Canada for a minute. I captured this off Redacted. I watch these guys sometimes. They have commentary. Listen to what Peterson's response to him being, what is it, chastised.
We unfortunately have to guess at why this has occurred. And that's actually a big problem in and of itself, and also indicative of the utter carelessness of the Twitter organization with regard to the propriety of its own censorial actions. I should at least know exactly what I did wrong if I am required to acknowledge that my tweet violated the Twitter rules. What rules, you sons of bitches? Exactly. Precisely.
Okay, sons of bitches. Yeah, I say that about YouTube when they censor stuff, and he's the recipient of censorship. I think I'll, well, if you look at this man in his noose tie, you know, the noose, no noose is good noose, but it's a ritual, the tie. He's complying for the most part, but in this way, I think he feels they have overstepped. He's been pretty compliant. He's done very well in his career as, what do they think? He's the most radical thinker of the age now or something. And I beg to differ. However, I have to admit that his objections are entirely wholesome and credible and worthy to pay attention to, because he's just showing us something that is going on around us. You know, you've seen him now. I'll go over to my face version of this commentary. Hello, YouTube and BitChute friends. A brief commentary on this Peterson issue. You cross the man, and the man will dump you in some form or other, or there's going to be blowback when you open your mouth. When you open your mouth, and especially someone who has a high profile as Peterson, he's been pissing off a few owners with his commentary on not playing along with the playbook. There is a playbook, and he's not playing along with it. The way, again, I'm going to measure my words here, because the world is not as it appears to be, and in this controversy, there is likely subterfuge as much as there's controversy, but I'll take the best out of it. And I'm not a big fan of Peterson, because he has objections and makes propositions, but none of the solutions make any sense to me that he presents. In fact, I think behind the problem I fundamentally have with Peterson, as you look at him, you know, if you look at the video of him squinting out of his eyes, he's like, the intensity is squinting. The guy has, I don't think, any sense of humor, really. He's like so serious about himself. I guess clinical psychologists may have this tendency of being very serious about themselves, because the issues that they address are so serious and monumental. People who are aesthetes and artists and other emotional human beings may not have the depth of this man. I think there's too much depth in this man to look open with your eyes. It's like you gotta squint and be intense. As you see, I'm not a fan of his, but that doesn't detract from what he's saying in terms of the compelled speech. This was his early thing. Now he's also commented quite a bit on the fact that the government procedures against the population has been so egregiously over the top. He's been very clear about this, about no travel. You can't leave unless you take an injection. This was his position, rightfully. I mean, he gets it. Now, I think he was probably affected. His income was affected by not being able to go for his $100,000 lectures. He wasn't allowed to travel. I'm finding that a little curious too, because with that kind of, you buy yourself a jet, and you just sort of circumvent all these rules. So he may be a front man. He may be a front man to show us the big boys like to take other big boys down. But maybe in this case, it's like to give us little peons some hope again, because he's going to fight it. He's going to show these bastards. Now, what they basically said, these numbskulls, these clowns that he's associated with in his profession, the what do they call, the College of Professional Psychotypes have decided that, oh, you're doing bad speak. We don't want you to do bad speak. You need to come for re-education. No kidding. They actually said these words, re-education. We want you to be re-educated. It's like Pol Pot or I guess Mao was a big re-educator. Probably Stalin and all that gaggle of hyenas and reptiles. They were good educators for people that tended to step out of line. Now, in this case, it's obviously not as severe as Stalin re-educating you or Pol Pot, because you may not emerge out of your re-education camp. But the very concept of re-education is so absurd at a time when human development, which is being arrested drastically with a lot of different measures. There has been too much freedom for the peons, you and me. So there is going to be a concerted effort to withdraw whatever has been gained. I think this is likely cyclical. There's probably some cyclical phenomenon going on here where, the peons fight for their rights and they get a little more, and we have benefited. I think that, in my culture, I have benefited greatly from the social interactions and what has been provided for me in order to succeed in certain ways. I'm not destitute. So there is a sense of gratitude that I have for the things that have been established, but it's not because somebody gives it to you. It's because there is a communal effort. I see this kind of social network, what we understand to be culture. The best part of culture is people cooperating, doing things for each other, with each other. And then, of course, the hyenas want to take advantage and grab some bakshish out of this. It's like to get a little thrill and get something for nothing. This is obviously the operation that we're underpinning. We're underpinning an operation now of people that want to get more and more and more and more. And whatever crumbs fall off the table, I have to say there were some substantial crumbs in terms of being able to do what I want to do in my life. I've been a painter for 50 years. Even more. So the Peterson issue is you open your pie hole and on the surface, this is what it looks like to me on the surface. You open your pie hole, you're going to get your knees chopped off. And I think it's a case of the clowns. They think they can just, it's so obviously clown show here, because no one in their right mind would go after Peterson and say, you have to get re-education. If you don't get re-education, we will throw you in the gulag if you don't do the re-education. In fact, apparently, it's open-ended re-education, because if you don't do what we want you to do, or if you say, how many fingers, Vincent, how many fingers do you see? This is a case of Orwellian double speak, stupid speak, clown speak, and they're just sinking their own ship, which is why I'm dubious about the whole thing that's being presented on Peterson, because the guy has such a high profile. You're not going to get him on re-education center. You're going to have to get him on something really nasty, like some criminal thing, like he's a pedophile or he's raped somebody or whatever. This is it has to be a criminal offense, and his is double speak or bad speak. No, not double speak. His is unacceptable speech. Like that fringe group that our fearless leader Trudeau has prescribed, that you can't say certain things that contravene the government view. And government is not a country. A government is given charge of governing for a certain period of time, but they're not the country. We're the country. The people are the country. So governments, this has been misunderstood because they've become such megalithic, monstrous entities with all their military mights and the guns that they're now trying to take away from Canadians, so nobody can defend themselves if there was a necessity to legitimately defend yourself against some bully that might come, even if they're dressed in some kind of uniform that is supposedly recognized as being authoritative, whatever the authority might be, it still may present a threat. So the Peterson issue 100% clown show. He's so serious about it, though. He should laugh. He should laugh. He should laugh. He should say, this is going to be like a fabulous platform for me to expand my empire. The Peterson empire could be expanded based on what it is they're trying to do to him. These clowns are ridiculous. Just like the entire shit show has been so ridiculous. If you look at it, and you look at the facts, and you look at the science, none of this makes sense. And again, here is a procedure they're trying to inflict on someone that makes absolutely no sense, particularly from the point of view that he comes out of an organization that is supposed to understand human nature. Squint, 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 human nature. Squint, squint, Mr. Peterson, human nature. He's going to kick the shit out of them. This is the idea. It's like to show us that, hey, there's hope, people. There's hope. You know, with the right kind of lawyers, there's always hope and whatever. He's going to have a team of lawyers, you know, with his empire is big enough to afford all the best lawyers. Like I say, his positions quite often are legitimate, something I consider to be of value when he says what he says. Some of it is inherently has value inherently. He has no solutions. He has absolutely no solutions, and he doesn't need to have solutions because he's not obligated to have solutions. He has criticisms. His solutions are crap. They don't make sense to me whatsoever. If you look at his, I have breezed through some of his solutions, and none of them make sense to me. It has, and I refer back to. I'm not an expert on Peterson. I go by impressions quite a lot in terms of my own work and how I feel. It's very impulsive. I have a sense of something intuitively, impulsively, and I kind of, for the most part, I would say it has led me in the right direction to allow myself to be to give in to these elements within the mystery. That where does a painting come from? Where does, when you write something, and especially as it gets really more brilliant and fabulous, where does that come from, right? So anyway, the thing about the Peterson thing, I have to refer back to Gabo Mate, who identified he's a doctor, not a clinical psychologist doctor. He's a doctor, medical doctor, psychiatrist maybe even. And he has very astutely identified Peterson's squint problem as being a very repressed rage that always emerges in his manner. You like when you're dressed to the T like he is with that suit and the noose. This is my commentary. This is my commentary on what is perceived to be the tie. I don't know who invented this idea. Where this comes from. You know, this like. This is the noose. I mean, it's a version of the noose. Wherever I think it's also a ritual in certain organizations. This is a ritual. So Peterson is on board with this demonstration of compliance with a system that has failed us, people, just ordinary people, those who are capable of reflecting and thinking of the nature of our circumstances. The system, this is the system, people. The no noose is good noose system. This is the system that is actually running the joint in terms when you're dressed like that, when you're a Peterson character and you dress up and you comply with this philosophy. That's what it is. So I mean, you can wear it as a decorative element, but underlying this thing, there may be instances when wearing the tie, the noose, is just a cigar. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. So my point is that the whole Peterson issue is a clown show again. He's going to kick the shit out of him if there's any reality here. He's going to kick the shit out of him. I don't think they're going to make any headway. They're going to back off, obviously. And I think it just gives more credibility to him on his platform. My suspicion is they're promoting him and his platform even more because this is going to give him This is going to double the millions and tens of millions of people that follow this guy. It's going to make a huge difference. The message to us is you open your pie hole and you're going to get whacked. So anyone that even remotely thinks of opening their mouth, Peterson's going to do whatever he does now. But to you and me, the message is we can get you on absolutely nothing, on bad speak. You're going to be in the slammer for bad speak. You're going to be in a Pol Pot re-education camp for bad speak. This is the message. Now, the reality is this: what we're living in right now. There are certain safeguards still in place, but it's whittling down. It's whittling down, especially if you look at Australia, what comes out of there, and Canada isn't very far off. I think the authorities that are attempting to change direction on this ship of what I would call freedom, including free speech, anything to do with what the population has gained over with blood and guts in a long period of time, hundreds of years, maybe back right to Magna Carta if you want to go back. But these gains are going to be erased, and it may be cyclical, And Peterson is just a front man for the program that is being carried forward, and he has valuable insights. I have no problems with the insights he has. He has no solutions, but he has valuable insights. But he's also a very negative force within my own personal growth, in the sense that like I say, he's so shallow. He's so shallow. He appears that this intellect, this intellect on legs, this appearance, this has all been propagated. There's a shallowness in this. There is a lack of depth in this. Particularly I've mentioned this before, particularly when he goes into exegesis, when he analyzes biblical events and stories, the way they're represented, without understanding the language that he's translating from. He doesn't know, I don't think he knows Hebrew, even though he's like a big fan of Israel. I don't think he knows Hebrew. And what does he know? Aramaic. The Bible, I think, originally was written in Aramaic, but all the important quotes in Hebrew scripture and Christian scripture, they're all Hebrew. Even Christian scripture people, the quotes that are attributed to the rabbi are in Hebrew. So those are glyphs. Those aren't just letters, they're also numbers. If you look into the nature of their alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, it is based on numbers. All the letters have numerical values, so in a sense they're equations. So unless, like, you see those Jewish guys, hitting their head against the wall all the time like this, it's because they can't figure out what the fuck this thing is supposed to mean. And Peterson jumps on with his clinical psychology, with his 21st century, 25th century insight into the human nature, and analyzes a wisdom, if there is wisdom, it's like thousands of years old, most likely, supposedly. So, okay, I think, going to get your head lobbed off if you open your pie hole. That's what they're showing us with Peterson, but he's just going to run right over them like a steamroller. Unless they do some sort of extreme number on him, but the charge against him is so flimsy and stupid that I can't see them unless they drum something else up. And if they do, I will certainly come to his defense. Because in that case, he's not just the operative continuing the program. I hope this makes sense a little bit even. I hope it makes sense, because I'm very dubious about this. And especially, the way he presents himself with this, to the T, this perfection of clothes that he always has. Come on, relax, man. Take a breath. Just sit down, have a scotch and smoke a cigar, even though you're sick. You were really sick and all that. Now you have to wear suits to keep all your parts in place or something. Anyway, I'm not promoting a lifestyle here. I'm not saying how you should or shouldn't live. I'm just sort of, it's so obvious to me that this squinting guy telling us shit like that. And I know he's admired by people I know admire him greatly. And I said, look, I don't want to get into a discussion on this person, because it's just like, okay, I like him, you don't like him, and all we have is like I suppose we could dissect stuff, but it's not even worth it for me to dissect the shit he's talking about. Because for the most part, there will be good things there, but the overall feeling, like I say, it's couched in a rage. And I feel it like I look at paintings. Let's say a painting that I even like in some ways. There is a place for that sort of rage, that kind of rage against the machine. I don't know what you might want to call it. But in more cases than not, it falls apart for me. It's like a good example is a painter like Francis Bacon, who was a raving alcoholic fucking nutter. And, the rage and anger in his paintings, for the most part, surpasses the value they have for me. Although it's maybe I'm a bit clinical here. I look at it and I say, what is it that I can draw from it? Because there was some insight. I mean, the guy had some dark, but it was an insight. So I won't like throw it out, as opposed to decorators like Meissonier in the mid 1800s. He was exalted, got the honor of French Legion from the president of France, and the fucking guy was just a total decorator. He could paint horses like no tomorrow. So you have both ends of the spectrum. He had a pleasant, wonderful life, and he painted horses like no tomorrow. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. I guess I could go on, but okay.